2 bin 1 bag anniversary. It has been 5 years since the Karnataka High Court passed an interim order directing citizens of Bengaluru to adopt the 2 bin 1 bag system. That's the reason for this webinar today. And we have some wonderful people who have done some fantastic things around in leadership roles and made a change, a small change, any small, even a drop in the ocean matters. So on to the next speaker is Malini Palmer. She is one of the initial members of SWMRT. She is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta. Kolkata, I don't like calling Kolkata, so Calcutta is preferable, and Delhi College of Engineering. Malini has over 17 years of experience in the global IT industry, spanning 25 countries. She is the co-founder of Stone Soup, a social enterprise that offers a range of products of sustainable living. Through her enterprises, she prioritizes livelihood opportunities for communities while aiming for a people-centered development. Malini has been volunteering for responsible waste management since 2011 and was part of the Casa Mukta Belendur team that played a big role in introducing 2 bin 1 bag to different communities in Bengaluru. Next with us, we have Soumya Vishwanathan. Soumya is a professional working in the retail industry. She is a resident of Renaissance Park 1 in Malleshwaram, West Bangalore. In 2009, she was instrumental in initiating the solid waste management program in her community along with like-minded residents. This initiative began by identifying various categories of waste generated at household level and then working on how the same can be segregated, recycled, and disposed of safely, thereby minimizing waste reaching the landfill. Once the various categories of waste were identified, she, along with the Support Apartment Association, tied up with multiple recyclers to deal with segregated waste. Renaissance Park 1 has launched a comprehensive SWM system of segregating waste into different categories. Now, moving away from the Bangaloreans, I come to Preeti Maheshwari. Preeti Maheshwari has been working as a brand ambassador to Swachh Bharat Mission Municipal Corporation, Aligarh in Uttar Pradesh. Preeti has conducted ward-wise awareness sessions on segregation, home composting, and community composting. She has worked with universities, communities, larger organizations to set up decentralized waste management systems. Preeti is an advocate of 2 bin 1 bag system and believes it an adaptable system that is very, very easy to follow. Yours truly, Shalini Charles, your host for this evening. I'm one of the founding members of SWMRT and got into waste by setting up one of the first, like Soumya, Diamond District, an apartment complex, how we set up the waste management. Now, on to our webinar today. What really is 2 bin 1 bag? Back then, we never labeled it as 2 bin 1 bag. So may I please invite Malini, our first guest here, to explain to our audience in a very simple term, what is 2 bin 1 bag? Malini, over to you.
Thank you, Shalini. Like you said, so when I look at it, I like to define 2 bin 1 bag as three-way. What is 2 bin 1 bag? One, it's a citizen collective movement. So whether it was your apartment or Soumya's apartment who created some frameworks early, whether it was someone like Ramakant sir who's covered hundreds of communities, bringing them together, asking them to adopt a centralized system, or group like ours in Belendur, who all adopted this and built a framework with the municipality. So it's been a collective movement. We've all learned from each other as it's gone to Aligarh, to Ooty, to Delhi, Gurgaon, all places. Everyone has contributed and learned from it. And that's why I call it a citizen collective movement. The second is, I would call it a step-by-step methodology. because there is a hard methodology. It's not hazy fazy. It's a hard technical methodology which allows communities, offices, anyone to do a step by step process and get more than 85% segregated waste at the end of 15 days or 1 month, right? So it's a hard step by step methodology. The third thing which gets represented in the two bin one bag is actually the kit that every household has, which is what most popularly people associate, which is a green bin, a red bin, and a bag. And of course, the pamphlet that goes with it. So that's how I would like to define two bin one bag. Back to you,
Thank
Shalini.
you. Thank you, Malini. So to open the conversation, you very beautifully described what two bin one bag is. I love the words you said, that it's a citizen movement, and there's a technical component to it. And because there's a technical component to it, it is extremely easy to adopt by any community. Coming to Soumya. Soumya, today we call it the two bin one bag. When you and I started, when Mr. Ramakant got into waste, even without two bin one bag, we were able to achieve what we did before. But of course, technically, two bin one bag has been successful. So, Soumya, how did you move? How did you start, and how did you move onto the two bin one bag movement in your apartment?
So this was, thanks Shalini. So this was way back in 2008. So I think we as a community, decided that it's time that we segregate the waste. But first we needed to identify what were the various categories of waste. And here I think a lot of the learning came from ITC then, who circulated these pamphlets and defined what were the various kinds of waste. So then we got together, and that time waste management was really, nobody was practicing waste management. So, being living in a community, we had to arrive at a system which is easy to handle by the residents, easy to handle by the housekeeping staff logistically, and easy to dispose of. So then what we did was we came upon dividing the waste into three broad categories. That is your dry waste, your wet waste, and your sanitary toxic waste. So once we identified the three categories of waste, the next step was how do we collect it at a household level? How do we collect it at a community level? And then how do we dispose it off safely? So that's when we arrived at this idea that, okay, these are the categories of dry waste. We collect it at a household level in three different bags, because to collect it every day and keep it in the apartment, there were fire hazard issues and things like that. So we said, okay, let's do a weekly drive of the dry waste. Let's collect the wet waste separately. So the most fundamental thing here was, the only way we realized was to deal with the waste is if we segregated it, if we kept it separately. So when people are dropping waste in their house, they have to drop it in few different containers, and that's the only way. Once it is separated, we can deal with it. So we realized that was the most important thing, that we had to get residents to understand that you need to separate it when you're disposing stuff. So then we had three bags allocated for dry waste, we had a bin allocated for wet waste, and then we devised a small sort of a newspaper bag which we developed with an NGO to drop the toxic waste. So this is how
Okay.
we started at a household level to sort of segregate the waste. Then it became easy for us to deal with it.
Okay. Thank you, Soumya. There have been some lovely thoughts that you have shared with me yesterday, and I will bring you in again in that conversation. Preeti, before I come to you, I would like to go to Mr. Ramakant. Mr. Ramakant was instrumental in showing many of us the destination for dry waste. He showed us what ITC was doing. He showed us where you could send your mixed dry waste. So, Mr. Ramakant, can you tell us, how did your journey begin with ITC, and what are the kind of institutions that you were able to influence? And what are the roadblocks you got at that point of time initially? Mr. Ramakant, over to you.
So this segregation rules came in Karnataka High Court. We managed it by calling. Can you listen?
Yes, we can hear you very clearly. Please go ahead.
I am not tech savvy, so it becomes. I am slightly higher than PK, Paura Karmika. So that's all. I know only that language. So in any case, see, we passed the rule. Segregation rules was passed. Then Kasamukta Bangalore, Kasamukta, this one, Belandur was there. They had started this movement because you see, we can make any rules, but they are Paurakarmikas and persons who are working in the housekeeping, they are illiterate. So they understand only colors. So that way, red and, as you said, 2 bin 1 bag was this thing. And this first promotion was done by, not by SWMRT, and it is Kasamukta Belanduru. And mostly influenced by our Malini, who was there. So that way we extended, and I still remember the Justice Kumar who passed the rules of all orders who passed. He wanted to see what is this 2 bin 1 bag. Then one of our volunteers, Lalita, she even went to the justice table and he told us to display that 2 bin 1 bag what it is. And he was so convinced that immediately it became a law. And it became a part of segregation rules, because segregation is not to be done with those people who are illiterate. So for any person can make out red means this, green is wet waste, and bag is for dry waste. So the story of dry waste collection came, say this, one of the Windsor Manor Hotel, president of the ITC, and who was responsible during that time. So they wanted they were importing almost 40 to 50% dry waste for their paper activities. So then I said, if you help us, we will help you. Then we started thinking of the segregation, and segregation came into picture. And in the beginning, I must have found out even Diamond District also, they had all prepared all new ideas by our Shalini madam. So we became senior citizens were watching by this one, what they are segregating and all that, further segregation and all that. All this business was explained to Lok Adalat. And the Lok Adalat passed a system like they must keep it at one place. What they did, then the DWCC was installed for the first time in Bangalore city, if I'm correct. So DWCC, Dry Waste Collection Center, was even managed by this waste pickers and all that. That our Nalini took it further and made an organization only of this. And that law even was passed by Lok Adalat that this housekeeping staff should be made completely responsible to segregate and all that. So some of the housekeeping staff of Achirudala and all that, they opened a diamond dry waste collection centers. Then the design was also done by our solid waste management member, Ravi, who did that design. And then we started this dry waste collection center started in full earnest. So that is how the segregation point took place.
Thank you.
And we were doing this. And on that, so many after that, Justice Kumar passed. Even weekly, you used to see, we were explaining by stories, best practices. And these best practices were shown, and he wanted to see because he didn't understand much of this solid waste management. So every weekend I used to take him to different places where the best practices were done, and he was fully convinced that the only way to do segregation and all that with this 2 bin 1 bag and all that, so that everybody can understand. Even the
Okay.
illiterate people can understand.
Okay, we'll, Mr. Ramakant, I'll bring you in once again in another conversation related to the history of how we came about this segregation. I would like to move to somebody who is new with these common faces, and I loved her story yesterday. Preeti from Aligarh. I loved the way she said, I said, Preeti, how did you get into waste management? And Preeti, would you like to see, the whole webinar today is about how we can reach out to more and more people. What is our success? And yes, we've had challenges, we've had failures, we've overcome failures, and we've learned from each other. So today is about helping more and more small cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities, come on board, come to us, and we will help you manage your waste. Preeti, that little story that you told me last night about you getting into waste management, would you like to share that little anecdote as to what trigger made you start this wonderful journey where you were recognized, not even at a city level? Preeti, over to you.
Thank you, Shalini. Yes, that's a turning point. That has been a turning point in my life. And being married, my husband is based in Aligarh because of his work. And I have two beautiful sons. So it so happened that that was the time when I realized the power of being a mother can transform your whole life and give a way to your new work. So it so happened that my elder son fell ill. And I went to the pediatrician asking that, and he was highly infected by typhoid. So I went to the pediatrician and asked him why he's got such high, infection rate of the typhoid, when in spite of having given him the vaccination and the booster doses and everything. So he said one thing, that you're panicking unnecessarily. You're living in a city like Aligarh, where waste is all around, where filth is all around, where viruses are all around. It is so obvious that the child might get, might fall ill. So that really remained with me. And as a mother, it got stuck with me that what am I giving as a mother to my children? And when we talk about children, it's just not our children, it's children everywhere where you see the kind of upbringing they're coming up with. It's just not about giving the best of, amenities to your child. It's giving the fresh air, good food to eat. And it's not about the child, just blooms in a nature-friendly atmosphere, which was missing in Aligarh. And I remember even the poshest of patch in Aligarh, within the 1 kilometer area, I could see 4 to 5 black spots. So there it got me going, that the cause was waste. And I had to understand waste. If I need to find a solution for waste, I need to understand waste. And I need to mention one thing this is going to help and empower more people who are watching. Why? Because I definitely had a science background as an education, but the waste was completely a new field to me. I got onto the internet, studying the content, what is waste about, what are the solutions available, but still I needed, besides the content, I needed hand-holding. I needed expertise to guide me. And where what I wanted to do from inside, and what held me from various places was no doubt the mention of SWMRT, the Solid Waste Management Roundtable, which has its Facebook page very alive with all its content mentioned. Then I had friends like Malini, whom I just pinged and WhatsApp, and she was there to guide me through what it is about, how can you get going, how can you scale up from your house to you're at your city level. I had friends like Vasuki from Soil Health, Siddhant from Pimpri, who is working wonderfully for the society. So I had many helps. So what I'm trying to mention here is, if you understand what waste is, then there's such good work is going on all over, in India, that we need to just connect and collaborate to get the solution on ground. So this is a major mentioning, and understanding waste is not a rocket science at all. It is so doable. And though I would, and when we're here to talk about 2 bin 1 bag, it is when we talk about waste and how to transform waste into a resource, right? What we get from waste into a resource, then, or to nurture waste in such a way that you get all these resource and to bloom it into resource. So the first and the most primary step, जिसपे हमें पैर रखना है, the most fundamental step is to separate your waste. Now, how would you, when I go for campaigns, and and that too for the C tier and B tier cities, so they ask, kaise karna hai? How do you separate your waste? So the core solution, you can just put it across, and it is so understandable, is 2 bin 1 bag. So how do you separate your waste so that you can just nurture into a resource? The first most fundamental, most essential step is separate your waste using 2 bin 1 bag. That is your wondrous tool. So that's,
so
yeah.
Preeti, I'll still keep you on. I'll still keep you on because I'll bring the second question to you. Preeti, all of us are for Bangalore. Bangalore is a large city, and we've been successful in various pockets, including influencing governments. However, my question is very different. My question is, living in a tier 2, tier 3 city, what are the kind of challenges you faced, first of all, from the citizens who you tried to talk to, and from the government bodies when you were trying to enforce this 2 bin 1 bag? Can you please share some challenges that you had to face?
See, definitely this is a waste, the whole mindset, this whole work on waste. In fact, I would not say work on rethinking the whole way of the way we see waste. It's going to be very raw, very crude. We need to work on waste. It is like how you understand waste. So it requires a complete different mindset change. So that was definitely that nobody in the city, or in fact nobody in Uttar Pradesh, was talking about waste that time. So, and this is, I am talking 2014. So nobody was talking that time about waste. So when started talking about waste, definitely to just state it very clearly, there were two mindset of people where I came across. The one side, there were people who were very sensitive, who wanted to do something, right? They were environmentally concerned. They wanted to do something good in this lifetime for the earth, for the planet, for the nature. They were sensitive for the people who were picking up waste. So they were sensitive, but they didn't know how to do, right? So this was a set of people I could cater to easily. Now, the second mindset was of those people for whom the waste was not their concern. It was just something to be shunned away with, right? And it was like, who would keep the waste composting units in their, balconies or the garage system or the terrace, because that would be stinking enough? Or who would, separate their waste and collect it for a weekly, pickup? So that was a different mindset. The first challenge, the foremost challenge which I faced was that for the second category of people, what would make them comply or abide to handling waste? If I have to say, what should be done so that they start doing it, right? So there, they needed a mandatory thing to abide them, a law to enforce that this is mandatory. You just cannot get away with by throwing mixed waste. कि हर कचरे को काले पन्नी वाले पॉलिथीन में डाल करके, आप एक डस्टबिन में डाल करके अपने अपार्टमेंट के शूट से डाल देना, या ऐसे ही घर के बाहर फेंक देना कि म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन ट्रक इज गोइंग टू कम and pick the waste. So this category of people, something had to be there to abide them so that they can comply. There I felt the lack. I had my running projects, with the RWAs and everything, which were abandoned after 3 months of successful running, just because many of the residents opposed that, no, we would not be doing it because it's not our work to be done. So when that time, the law, it should be mandatory. It's not that you have to do, the waste would not be taken unless and until it is given in the separate, in a separate way. So this lack of enforcement was definitely there. And from the local authorities, I would say, as Ramakant sir mentioned, it is a bylaw. 2016 solid waste management rules, it says it's a bylaw, and every bulk generator, 50 plus people, or every bulk generator has to give their waste segregated. The rule is very well in place. Then where is the lack? Why is there a lack of enforcement? Either the rule is not there and we need to work on the formation of the rule, get the rule into place, but the rule is there. Then what stops the local authority from enforcing it to various bulk generators, whether it's universities, banks, offices, wherever, apartments or societies? So these were the two major challenges which I'm still searching for the answer.
How long was your learning curve? How long was your learning curve, and what is the period in which you could achieve at least 60% success?
See, as I mentioned that, working with independent houses, working with institutions, working with schools where there is their own, stake, there is their own decision making, right? There it is an easy go to get them equipped with waste handling. But when it comes to gated societies, when it comes where the municipal, when the whole society is dependent upon the municipal corporations or the local authorities for the waste handling, there comes the challenge, because there are very few mindsets who want to own up the responsibility that we would be responsible in handling our own waste.
Okay, so at this point, at this conversation, I would like to bring Soumya in, because what I liked about what Soumya told me this morning was, Soumya and her team, of course, the whole, how did you start? She said, I called like-minded people for tea. So everything starts with Chai Pe Charcha, and that's exactly how Diamond District also started Chai Pe Charcha. But what I really loved, Soumya fixed the back end first. And she fixed it beautifully, because the red wing becomes the biggest challenge. And Soumya, would you like to come and talk about the fixing of the back end? And so beautifully you fixed it with Ramki.
Yeah, so there were two parts to this. So when we started, thinking about segregation, we realized, okay, the first challenge is, getting people to segregate. The second most important challenge is, once we got them to segregate, what do we do with the waste? Until we deal with it properly, it's not going to be dealt with. So the first thing I did was, we explored, ITC was there, they actually supported a lot in this endeavor. They actually came and helped us understand various categories of waste, and they told us that this is how, if you give us waste in this form, we would be able to pick it up and deal with it and further recycle it. So it took us a couple of months to sort of understand each category of waste, how we need to put it segregated at a household level, how we hand it over to the recycler, so that further processing and dealing with it becomes easier. So we had to figure out how to give it to them so that they can deal with it easily. So the dry waste, actually we did three-way segregation for the dry waste as well. We actually gave 3 bags instead of 1 bag. We gave 3 bags to each resident, marked as paper, plastic, and metals and others. So all the non-recycled metals, Tetra packs, all of that, we put it in 1 bag. So when we were handing it over to the recycler, for him to further segregate and sort became very easy. The other important thing we did was the toxic waste. So we said, okay, this is a very important category now. we don't want this reaching the landfill. It just so happened that I got around talking to IPC again, and he mentioned Sembramki, which is one of the appointed, agencies by the Pollution Control Board. And fortunately for us, we have a hospital next door. So I called him over. I had a long chat with him and said, "See, I know you don't pick up from apartments so far. Nobody has been doing this. We will be probably the first ones to do it. But can you tell us how, at an apartment level, we can do this so that you can pick it up along with your hospital waste?" So we had to understand how to collect it first at a household level, how we hand it over to the agency so that further it can go into incineration and doesn't get mixed with the other kinds of waste. So then we did a little R&D, first amongst the group of us, and then we, had to figure out a way of collecting it at a household level. We tried different, covers and bags and things like that, and then we hit upon this idea of newspaper bags. So we realized that a certain thickness and size would hold heavy diapers and all of that, and it can be sort of tied in and kept. And the handling also was not so unhygienic. Of course, housekeeping were given gloves and all of that, but it was easily handled by them. We used to collect it at a certain point, and these guys would come and put it in special yellow bags, which then would go into incineration. So we had to do a little bit of R&D over a period of time to see that, one, at a household level, it is collected easily, doesn't seep through. Second, it is handed over in a hygienic manner for the housekeeping can collect it at in a hygienic way. Third, it can be collected by this agency wherein they are able to segregate it, and they don't have to touch it and handle it, and directly it can go in for incineration. So after a little trial and error, we arrived at this method, and to this day, I would like proudly say that this method is going on. We are now 12 years away. We have managed to, continue with this method, and it is working very well. So for us, all of this trial error sort of helped us to fix the problem. And then once the group of us who were doing the R&D at our end, we're convinced that we can scale it up and get the entire community to follow it easily. We sort of got everybody enrolled with the idea. We showed them how to do it, and then over a period of, I would say, 6 to 8 months, about 90-95% of our community started doing this, and we started managing the waste that way.
Wonderful. Soumya, back to you. If there are citizens aspiring to set up source segregation in their community, what would be your message to them now?
I would say, one, it's the most important thing to do. Two, it is extremely easy to do. Three, it just needs a simple system of this tube in one bag. Which is there, which can be followed, which is so simple. You put it in your house. When you walk to dispose of any item in your household, all you need to do it in drop it in the relevant container. That's it. It doesn't require additional time. It doesn't require additional effort. It's just becoming a little more aware of where you drop what waste. That's all it takes. And then once it is segregated that way, it can be dealt with very, very easily. The initial challenges, like I would want to just highlight, when we were launching this in our apartment, there was a lot of confusion, and especially coming from people who are working. I don't have time to do this. It is not something that I would want to do. How is me segregating weight going to impact climate change? So we had to really make everybody understand it's a small drop in the ocean, but several drops make the ocean. So every small effort goes a long way. So once we sort of, got them to understand, you don't need extra time to segregate. It's just when I have a banana peel, I don't drop it in the same container. I drop it in my kitchen waste. When I have a piece of bill that I want to, throw away, I go to my bag and I drop it. That's all it takes. So once we sort of got them to understand this, that it is effortless, easy, and simple, I think everybody got enrolled, and then it became very easy to sort of
Soumya, also you
implement it
said there were
across.
three kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soumya,
So when
can
we
you hear me?
started, there were, yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
So
No, you,
when we started, there were three, yeah.
yeah, three kinds of people? I want you to highlight that.
Yeah, so when we started, we realized there were three groups of people. One group easily got enrolled, were very gung ho about the whole process, was very excited, were happy that they are able to contribute to this and do this for a cause. There was a second group, they were fence sitters. They were said, okay, but I don't know, but maybe, but somebody has to tell me. And there was a third group who said, nothing doing, this is not my job, nothing's going to change, I don't have time for this. So we realized the first group, we got focused on the first group first because we needed to strengthen the system, and we needed them again to further spread the word. So when we got the first group, going in terms of segregation, they started helping out with the fence sitters and said that it's not so difficult. We are doing it. You can also do it. It's not so hard at all. And there was also peer pressure that she's doing it, then I should also start doing it. So the second group sort of fell in line, seeing other people do it and realizing that it's not such a big deal after all. The third group, it took us a while to sort of get enrolled, and over a period of time, we sort of, did a lot. We did multiple things. We sort of tried to speak to them. We sort of cajoled them. We sent children to speak to them. But when they didn't enroll beyond the point, we had to be tough. We said, in the larger interest of the community, if you don't do, then we will not pick up your waste. It's important you do this. And over a period of time, they fell in line. So that's the third group over a period of time started shrinking. Initially, we had a big third group, but I think more people started doing it. The third group sort of, reduced over a period of time. And I think over 6 months, we got about 95% of our community enrolled to segregate. And we managed to really take it off in a big way.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Soumya.
Thanks,
Malini,
Shalini.
thank you. Malini, coming back to you. I would like you to answer the same question first, that if there are citizens aspiring to set up segregation in their community, what would be your message to them? Through SWMRT angle, because you've been in the system for so long.
So first thing is, my experience has been exactly like Preeti and Soumya. So I like to categorize people, and since I come from a background where I like data and other things, so we found that there are between 5 to 15% of people in any community who want to do the right thing, who will take great effort, steps, measures to do the right thing. We enrolled them to become the volunteers. Then there is a vast majority, which is around 60-70% of the people. If somebody else has thought it through and implemented and make it simple and easy enough, they will fall in line. So they will do the sustainable thing as long as it's easy enough. There are 5 to 10% who have to be dealt by law. And unless you deal with them by law, that group will keep growing. If you put and most of the communities did put, that this is the rules of the community, you have to follow it, your waste will not be picked up or you'll be penalized 500 rupees. That group just shrinks and disappears. But when we didn't do it for a year, that from 5%, that group was growing to 15%, because other people feel like, why am I being foolish and why am I doing this when nobody else is doing it? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if somebody is looking to do it, first they need to do is destinations. Where will the waste go? If all the waste is getting mixed up, there is no point starting it. So you have to find how are you going to deal with the wet waste? Where are you going to compost? Or who's going to pick up segregated? Where is it going to biogas? Even if it's going to piggeries or cows or wherever, you have to identify the destination first. Similarly, where is your dry waste going to go? So that's the first thing you have to do is destinations. Then your people who are collecting. Like we have color coding for residents, they should also have color coding. Why? So that I might be doing the right thing. I want to, when I see the waste being collected, is there a color code? Is green bin going into the green container, right? Is red bin? And we took blue drums and we just put a strip of pink or, red around or green around to make sure people could visually identify and so that people can see that the system is working.
Right.
And then we went to the residents. I am a huge fan of doing marketing for everything, including social campaigns. So we enrolled children, we enrolled people, we realized that telling people how to do was not as important. So by the end, we were just giving them a pamphlet and said, you read that pamphlet and you'll figure it out. We were focused on communicating why they should do it, how it impacts the health of their children. I became from a volunteer to an activist because my daughter couldn't breathe every time there was a garbage burning, right? So every one of us connects. We would take pictures which Archana had got of children in Mandur. We would show them and what are the kind of skin diseases those kids have. We said they are somebody's kids and they have as much right to, enjoy their childhood as our kids have, right? So a lot of parents connected and especially moms. So you see, Garbage Sisterhood is full of, women with children because
So
we could connect the problems with, what we were seeing and what was happening to our children. Sorry, back to you, Shalini.
don't forget Mr. Ramakant. We were all ladies in garbage. We always had Ramakant sir with us, leading the.
He was our Charlie.
Yes, he was. He was our Charlie with the angels. So Ramakant sir, I'm coming back to you. I'm coming back to you. You've been a fighter for the cause of waste management with different government bodies, and the officers keep changing again and again. Why I'm asking you this? Because Malini brought a very good point. For any community to start in a tier 2, tier 3 city, you need to fix the back end first, find the destination first. So what would you like to say for a small town municipality where anybody wants to start waste management? How easy or difficult is it to find destinations with the help of the government body? Ramakant sir.
So this government body, only wherever villages and ULBs are there, I used to not have meeting with commissioner, but with panchayat elected people and all that. So there, they should realize first what it is. And for them, I use that Mavalipura and Mandur in Bangalore as the main sample. And I took pictures of those things. So now those things will not be available once you make waste as a resource. So in first, one of the apartment where Malini was staying, Springfield, so wherever I go, I call the BBMP's supervisor, inspector, or now AWEs who are there, they are sure to come. So they will come and they will realize what is the advantage we get. And that way, it was a great experience for me also. And I started this from last 15 years, I have been doing this. And Springfield and Diamond District was I think, the new first place to do this. They started earning also by secondary segregation of dry waste. And whatever earning came, they gave to their staff, the housekeeping staff, school fee. They started with school fee. And then I just gave an idea, why not keep some senior citizens who are not working, like me, useless fellows. They will look after the thing nicely and they can understand also. Even a small mistake, segregation place, they used to be there. And they knew the advantages. In the beginning, they gave few things, but after that, I heard from Diamond District, they started even giving school fee and all that. So there, the center was right opposite to them. Damlur Center was one of the first dry waste collection center we started. Now it is managed by Krishna, the Hasirudala volunteer, and it started paying them. So that means first sutra the people should know is, don't think that it's your own responsibility. Waste is our responsibility. And think before you throw. Two things you have to remember in mind for waste management. So in this, what happened was, then in my house, I installed a small one house, 2 to 5 kilos this biogas plant. Whatever could not go to the biogas, we put it in the composter. So with the result, 90% of the waste used to go in the biogas thing. My wife was telling she saved almost 40% LPG in that. So that a big advantage. And now I have extended this further. Another 2-3 houses waste I collect. Almost 4 houses they collect waste in my house, and it is processed by either by biogas or compost. So they just separate as per my instructions, and they separate and give it to us. And my servant picks up the waste. I have told the municipal workers not to accept those people waste, and those 4 houses I am managing now. So this law also supposed to come, seems somebody not doing some penalty and all that. But in that case, I was just joking with commissioner that I should get 4 houses waste I am collecting. So I must get that additional advantage for me. And biogas,
Thank you.
40% LPG, my wife used to say that we are saving LPG there. And biogas is also a very good alternative. But only problem is the other compost and all that I had kept in the terrace. And with the compost and slurry also which comes out of biogas is an excellent manure. Only thing is it is too concentrated. You must pay slightly dilute it and put it. Now my maid servant is also trained. So that way we were doing it. And my biogas plant, since I started 10 years ago, so it was even displayed in the national channel, NDTV had come to my house to take the photographs and all that. And they had displayed in their news item, they had put it once on waste item. So that way, the thing is, wherever we go, the enforcing should be there. And enforcement is weak in Bangalore. That is how it is a great problem. Otherwise, Bangalore city has given plenty of things to the All India Swachh Bharat. Every time Swachh Bharat people, when they come for inspection, I used to have a meeting with them and all told them to alter so many things. Simply cities, they were telling 10 lakhs people. But 10 lakh people, we have already touched 1 crore, 10 million is already there. So with the result, according to population, you will have to do it. So
Thank you, sir.
We took it, all those things into law. And our Ajay Shankar, who was one of our member, Mariam Shankar, her husband was the advocate. And before the case is heard, we used to brief him, these are the things. And it so happened that myself and Almitra Patel, judge one day told the commissioner, every hearing they should come there because they were not very conversant with waste. So we were quoting things, and then we were both of us either sometimes he used to miss Almitra Patel because I had no other business to do. So I was doing this only. So I was there in all the hearings, and that is the reason I took the judges also to the points where one biogas plant and one composter and all that. So like that, we promoted this idea. And
thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to bring this conversation back to two bin one bag. Thank you so much. We will be having another webinar on composting solutions and how we can set up for individual. We are running out of time. Therefore, I would like to ask one final question to everybody. My question to everybody, starting with Soumya, is what do we need for Two Bin One Bag to become a pan-India movement? You have seen us in the SWMRT journey right from this time we started to what we are today. But we've not been successful to make it a pan-India movement. And in your mind, Soumya, give us some thoughts. How can we take this to a pan-India level?
I think the fundamental thing is building awareness. I think one is looking at it from the larger picture in terms of how it will impact health and things like that. Along with that, the message of how easy, simple, and very important it is to do this, and it is doable, it can be done, and by any household effortlessly. So I think if the message that it is easy, doable, and should be done goes across in a stronger way and by shown by example. So I think a lot of our communities are already doing it in a very good way. The systems are already in place, so people don't have to figure out what has to be done. The
Correct.
learning curve, the people have already put systems in place. The people have, like Preeti, who has reached out to SWMRT and has just taken the systems in place and just worked a way of implementing it. So I think when we started off, nothing was available. We had no, example to follow. We had to create systems, out of nothing. So I think that learning curve we've gone past now, and I think communities, we just have to spread the word and build more, focus on more awareness that it is important, doable, and very easy to do. And I think if that happens, I think more people will come around to doing it. And I think now the awareness is much, much more than what it was earlier, and that climate change is a very, very big problem right now. And it is critical that we all get around to doing it as of this moment. So I think if that message goes out and shown with examples, I think easily we can scale it at a pan India level. I think with the able expertise of the organizations like SWMRT and volunteers, I think easily we can do it.
Shalini, I think Shalini got dropped off. Preeti, do you want to go next?
I would say spread it. Just spread it explosively. Why? Because it has to be understood what is 2 bin 1 bag. Kya hai 2 bin 1 bag? It is the most easy formula tool when we have to start work, even think of working with waste. The first step, the core step, the primary step, the wonderful tool, the one which equips you to start working, nurturing waste and using it to create an industry. And the coming years, the coming times of probably 5 to 10 years, waste management is going to be a big time rewarding industry where we need to replenish the soil again. Why? Because soil is depleting. So through composting, we need to replenish the soil, the top layer of soil. So making soil, we need to work on the dry waste. Why? Because then the recycling industry would flourish. So what is the core step to the booming industry? The first essential, every incinerator would want a segregated waste. Every recycling sector would want a segregated waste. To replenish the soil, वापस मिट्टी बनानी है तो पहले कचरे को अलग करना होगा. And the best way कचरे को अलग करने के लिए है to separate your waste is 2 bin 1 bag. So we need to spread it. It should become the norm of every house, the understanding of every house, the way India separates its waste. It should be there in every child's mind कि कचरे को अलग कैसे करते हैं. कचरे को, ड्राई वेस्ट को हमें बैग में डालना है, रिजेक्ट वेस्ट को हमें लाल रंग के डस्टबिन में डालना है, और खाने के कचरे को, बायोडिग्रेडेबल वेस्ट को, वेट वेस्ट को हमें हरे रंग के डस्टबिन में डालना है. And I need to mention it. Why? Again, because I work very closely with municipal corporations, and municipal corporations every year they have an inspection, as Ramakant sir rightly mentioned, which is called Swachhta Pakhwada. Jahan it is again inspected how every city, every block is working. So there only 2 dustbins are distributed, the green dustbin and the blue dustbin. right? So the people get confused. Okay, the green dustbin is for wet waste, but the blue dustbin, it is small in size, 5 liter, and it is small in size where the reject waste, the dry waste, everything goes in. So you tend to confuse, what, the whole target audience, the whole population. So the purpose is not served. So the 2 bin 1 bag, re-mentioned, it's a sutra, is the first mandatory step, and it should be enforced. And more people should come in, more people should network. Why? Because it is not that it's not a personal victory to any of us. It's not a personal victory to any of us, though I am sure environment and waste management would be the booming industry and the rewarding industry in the coming years, coming time to see. But yes, 2 bin 1 bag, completely just flood in with the whole concept.
So I'll sum it shortly. So we've all done it. We've learned from communities like Shalini's, Ramakant sir came and taught us. We've taught few other. Preeti's done it in Aligarh. Monica Khanna has done it in Gurgaon. Siddharth did it in Pune. So Pune Kachra Kata, NCR Waste Matters. These are flourishing communities. So Shobna has done it in Ooty. So just get together with few people, learn from us, and start doing. That's all it takes. So if we want to see areas around us to be neat, clean, we need to step up. And the rest of us are there to help. So back to you, Shalini.
So Shalini, I just wanted to add here. From what Preeti said, the mantra of 2 bin 1 bag, I think, it can start right from the school level where, it's like a subject taught. What is waste? How to deal with waste? So it is sort of registered in the subconscious mind, 2 big 1 bag. It's a way we grow up with. It becomes like a lifestyle habit. So if it starts at the school level and taught at a school level, it becomes a lifestyle tool that can get sort of carried forward in communities and universities and offices and everywhere. So I think one is it has to be enforced by law. 2, more communities who are going out and sort of wanting to do this, they can reach out to people who are already doing it. And at a school level, children get initiated into the 2 being 1 bag concept. They grow up with the idea, and as they grow older, it becomes a normal way to segregate. It's effortless, and it is the done thing. So I think that would be also one of the ways where we can take it on in a big way.
So yes, so there is.
Thank you, Soumya. Malini, can you talk about trashonomics? Malini, can you just talk about trashonomics?
Yes. So trashonomics, Archana, who's part of SWMRT, has created a wonderful book and a methodology. So this is how do you teach school children about waste. So there is a book. There is also, they do teacher training. So the teachers can learn it. They've been given kits. How do you do hands-on activity? So please do check out Trashonomics, and that's a perfect way to introduce trash to children literally.
Thank you, Malini. We will start wrapping up, and there are
Sorry, just one last thing.
Who's here.
Just one last thing. So from 2015, there has been a Swachh Sarvekshan, a Swachh Bharat mission. When it started, it was just moving waste. It was just visual cleanliness. But over the years, it's matured. It's become wonderful. It's pushing a lot of municipalities to do the right things. So I think as a program, it's really mature and it's really pushing municipalities to do the right thing. So if you as a citizen want to do something, you can get in touch with your municipality. They would be more than happy to work with you to bring about change. So yes, back to you, Shalini.
Okay. So no, it is not. Yeah. So what we are trying to tell our audience today. Thank you, Malini. I think my internet is going up and down, but I would like to sum up that SWMRT has vast resources, and our learning curve started in 2008 and little before that. So you're welcome to the audience who are listening in today and to the audience where this video will be circulated. Just look for us any step. If you're stuck, we will encourage you to work with your municipality. We will encourage you and help you how you can garner strength, get like-minded people, and remove those black spots from your neighborhood. So before I close, one of our listeners, Vijay Kinger, your hand is up. Would you like to unmute yourself and